Guess you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. And now here's your host, Rich Barris.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. You can follow me on Truth and Getter at People's Pundit, on Twitter at People's_Pundit. Follow us on Rumble, on YouTube, and of course, the best way to follow us is on Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. All right. We had a good live chat yesterday for the primaries in New York, Florida, and Oklahoma, as well as the special elections, which we are going to discuss, of course, today. And we will have a special guest, David Giglio, the former congressional candidate for California 13, will come on. He's got, I don't know if you guys saw it, we're going to talk about, he launched a new show, America First with David Giglio. It was a truth bomb for an hour. And I said, you know what, David, get your butt on the show and come and talk about it. And then also after the primaries, so he can give you some insight as to how these things shake out, what happens afterward, and we'll discuss this in great detail, because I think it is, you don't come here to be patted on your head or give a little pat on your tushy, do you? You come here because I shoot it straight and I tell you the truth. Here, let me just preface everything right now when it comes to New York 19 and 23 with, in a larger electorate in November, New York 19 is going to fall, okay? And fall, I mean, Republicans will, it is a harder lift, but after I looked at what I looked at last night, and we're going to explain to you the number of voters, the difference in the number of voters, I think it's pretty clear that Republicans can carry New York 19, even on the new one, okay? And then in 23, obviously, it'll be a much safer situation. The difference here is not so much New York 19. The difference is what is New York 19? Who is New York 19? And in 23, in New York 23, when Republicans lost the House, they still carried that district pretty handily, more than they carried it by last night. That said, they are special elections. And there are lower turnouts in special elections, and I've spoken with you about this in great detail. They're a lot harder to break ancestral voting habits. You get a base kind of turnout more than you get, those persuadable voters that are swinging in midterms one way or the other. This is why, well, it's not the only reason why it's important. There's a whole other reason why it's very important that we get the Public Polling Project funded now to get out this weekend. There are two reasons. One is the baseline. It's important to get a baseline, Labor Day baseline. Two is another reason you'll hear about when the poll is done. I just can't discuss it with you right now, but it's a big deal. All right. So we need to get it out there in the field. So share it far and wide. But I really just don't know at this point who to believe. So I want to do it myself to see, because my gut is telling me Republicans would have won both of those elections, 23 solidly, and 19 probably between 5 and 8 points, like the polling suggested, by the way. Had there been more of a turnout, there was not. This is a district where about 353,000 voters vote. All right. And I'm talking about 19. And yesterday, ballpark right now, we're looking at, let me edit. We're looking at what? It's very small. I can't even see it. You can't see it. We're looking about under 130,000. That is a typical small special election. That being said, in Republican years where there have been good wave years, people are saying, well, specials weren't great in 2010 and 14. Yeah, they kind of were. All right. Now, we can't ignore Virginia in 2021. We can't ignore New Jersey. There was a difference here. Okay. This is a real concern, and people should take it seriously if they want to be honest with themselves. without Donald Trump involved in the situation, involved in the election, Republicans cannot get voters to the polls. It's just that simple. All right. And then we've seen this enough. In New Jersey, it was a low turnout, folks. That was not a great turnout. In Virginia, where he was intimately involved, and more so, he had surrogates. He had his entire surrogate team doing bus tours with John Fredericks and running all over from the mountain range in the Shenandoah to the DC suburbs. There was a lot going on in the ground. That's why Glenn Youngkin, or a big part of why, Glenn Youngkin got such a working class turnout. It's getting painfully obvious that Donald Trump's fights, the MAGA fights, are driving record turnouts. And when he doesn't get involved, like in New York, like in California, turnout is abysmal. This is a problem. Even in Florida last night, where I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, there was one real statewide race in Florida that people were caring about. It was the agricultural commissioner seat. And that's because in Florida, it's very important. You have big sugar and everything, but it's also has to do with Second Amendment. When Brenda Snipes made sure that Nikki Fried was the first Democrat to win statewide office in years and take the agricultural commissioner seat, they did so because they knew the power that it held over gun licensing in the state of Florida. All right. And then they really just couldn't keep going with it. But as of last night, when there was 90% reported versus 85 on the Democratic side, there were more Republican votes for the agricultural primary than there were Democratic votes for the governorship. I don't know if that held, even if it's just slightly more. You're not talking about statewide competitive primaries. So people who think that Democrats have a prayer statewide this year in Florida are delusional. But where did the votes come from? And looking at that concerns me a little bit for the Republican coalition going forward. Without Donald Trump, it is very clear that there are a lot of Hispanic voters in South Florida who are just not sold on voting Republican for the sake of voting Republican. They stomped out for Donald Trump in 2020, and they pulled the lever, filled in the bubble for people like Maria Salazar in Florida 27 because he was there and they did it for him. But Maria Salazar's got a fight on her hands in case you haven't looked at the turnout numbers. She better win independents by 5 because this is the crap the Republican establishment throws that pisses me off. She's a journalist who's Hispanic, so she's going to just romp it with the Hispanic vote. That's not true. A billionaire white guy, old white guy from New York City, raised in Queens, New York, excites Hispanic voters better than her. And it's a legit concern at this point. So for all the people who say it's time to move on from Donald Trump, good luck. Because here's what you don't understand. And when David comes on in the next hour, we're going to talk about it. Here's what you're not understanding. A lot of those voters that you're so pissed about losing in the burbs that you blame Donald Trump for, they're not coming back. The highly educated, overly educated white in New York 19 didn't come back from Molinaro. He did incredibly well in Dutchess County. That's his that's his home turf. So he did better than Trump in that. But in Ulster, for instance, still got trounced, which is Ryan's backyard. So he outperformed Biden. So, there is that. Or he outperformed him in the early vote. And what I was trying to explain to people last night is it really that he's outperforming Biden in some of these areas? Is it really true? Or is his early vote just better than Biden's because Democrats are moving even more to early vote and Republicans are moving even more to election day vote? I think we're going to see in November in that district that the election day vote, when it's back to almost 400,000 votes, is going to swamp the hell out of the Democrat. And it is also true that Delgado won this district easily. And when I say easily, like almost 10 points. So without a doubt, there was a swing toward Republicans last night. It's just a question of how much. And if it was true in New York 19, Is it really a swing toward Republicans, or was it Molinaro's unique appeal because of his former role in Dutchess County? Because if it was an overall 10-point swing, then we would have seen New York 23 called very early. So that's why I say don't take one race. Don't ever take one race. And don't let them lump in New York 19 with Minnesota 1, because what they were talking about in Minnesota 1 simply was not true. Again, they were comparing Trump's performance to the congressional candidate. Republicans lose that district. The fact they won is a win and a move to Republicans, especially as, or even as, and despite these educated voters continuing to move to the Democratic Party. Oh, all right. So again, you're looking at it. The lead for Sempolinski is widening out to a more traditional lead for Republicans, but I mean, 4,700 votes, ballpark. We'll see what happens in November, but Republicans should have won this race handily. And Molinaro now only trails by about 2,700 votes. And, you know, when it's all said and done, we're looking at like 51, 49, maybe even damn near 50, 50.5 to 49.5. No, Rich, then why'd they call it? Because unless there's some kind of an error here, there isn't enough votes, even at the margin that Molinaro was winning them by. There isn't enough for him to overcome Ryan. Now, if there was some kind of tabulation error or something messed up, then yeah, they may have to retract that call. But I mean, I'm looking at what's left, and there's no sign of an error. It's done. All right, so put your head in the sand at your own risk is what I'm saying. It's very clear without Donald Trump, Republicans have a problem. They are definitely not ready to move on from Donald Trump. Now, some can. There are some candidates out there I really do believe, and look, I'll tell you right now, I've told Team Trump this. You won 2016 on your own. You saved the majority for the Republican Party in 2018 single-handedly. You prevented massive losses in the House in 2020. You're going to have to win these chambers for Republicans. There are some candidates who get it. Carrie Lake gets it. She's going to win despite the whiny Meghan McCains of the world. She's going to beat Hobbs. Blake Masters has a harder race there, but yet he still gets it. The problem for the new right is that not everybody gets it. Big wins for, I got to shout him out here. Big wins for Ryan Gerdusky and the 1776 Project PAC. Listen, a lot of people were just, pardon my French, a lot of people were just bitching when we had these fights with Virginia in 2021. Glenn Youngkin was genius. He made it an issue. Critical race theory, the stuff that makes people very uncomfortable with gender-neutral bathrooms and transgenderism, et cetera, et cetera. Ryan Gerdusky did something about it instead of just complaining. And we don't always see eye to eye. I think he's a nice guy. I know him. I think he's a nice guy. We've had our agreements, and believe me, we've had our points of contention where we do not agree. But I have got to give this man credit for saying, I'm going to do something instead of just complaining all the time. He took the school board majority in the biggest county in the state of Florida last night. Something, folks, that when Laura and I first moved to Florida and tried to engineer it into a different kind of a state, Barack Obama just won it in a landslide, landslide election, but he won the state. There was a lot of work that needed to be done there. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, these areas that were just so stubborn. But I always looked at Miami-Dade like they don't agree with Democrats. They don't. They're just not hearing it. This is prime. Starting at the local level like that and fighting a values fight like that is a good damn start. I have been telling people 2024, if Trump is the nominee, he's carrying Miami-Dade. I was bullish on DeSantis' ability to do so. I'm a little bit less so after tonight. Can he get close? Yes. Yeah. He may be able to do it. He may. But there are definitely voters missing from South Florida last night that vote for Trump and won't vote for anybody else. They're white, they're black, they're Hispanic. In South Florida, they're real Hispanic. And Republicans are not getting them out. DeSantis did better with them in 2018 than the polls suggested. He did. But the point of a trend is to keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Which brings me to why this is happening. All right, let me add this to the stream. I have to go close the door. Why is this happening? There's an answer to that. The answer is Republicans have failed leaders. The answer is Republicans have two incompetent leaders who are so incompetent they couldn't lead Pickett's charge, like a suicide mission. One who pulls the firearm like a little Mary every time it looks tough and the polls are hard and tells everybody to basically abandon ship, but instead of even going down with his own ship, he's the first piece of crap to jump off it. That's Mitch McConnell. And then you have the other one who knows how to raise money, but he doesn't know how to pick winners and losers. And he's spiteful. He's a spiteful guy who cares more about his gavel than he does the size of his majority in the House. They believed they were going to have a great night last night. They really believed that. They're looking backward. And they aren't unable to look at the map and say, this is the way the political coalitions are shifting. So because of that, this district is an opportunity. That district is an opportunity. Do you know who is good at doing that? Democrats. Failed leadership is a problem in the Republican Party. You can dislike Nancy Pelosi until the cows come home. She's very good at what she does. You can dislike Chuck Schumer. He's very good at what he does. And overall, what they do is represent their voters. Neither the leader from California nor the leader supposedly from Kentucky represents the modern Republican voter. And they sure as hell don't represent the voters that the party is on the cusp of grabbing in this coalition shift. The truth is, it's because, and we'll talk about more with this with David when he comes on, they didn't care about that 15% extra that David wanted to bring to the table of working class Hispanics. Here's the truth. They just wanted old white people and educated suburbanites again. They don't want to represent the working class. They look down on them. Kevin McCarthy does not want to be the leader of a party who represents working families and the real working class, the salt of the earth in this country. He doesn't. I hate to break it to everybody. It would be insulting to him. He wants to go back to the party of Boehner and Ryan. He wants to represent the Romney right. Because that's who he associates with. He doesn't know anybody in real America. And it's time Republicans come to that conclusion, because without a change of leadership, this party will continue to be erratic in messaging, incompetent in strategy, and incoherent with making their sales pitch. Absent a president, a sitting president, the leader in the House and the leader in the Senate are the de facto leaders of the party. Do they speak like you? Do they share your values? Do they share the values of the modern party that they claim to be a part of? Believe me when I tell you they thought they had New York 19 in the bag. They weren't even concerned about 23 being close. No clue. No clue. See, they got their wires twisted a little bit. They got it all twisted up, folks. They thought all those voters were coming out for them. They were not. They were not. So why is New York 19 such a hard lift in a special election, but Mayra Flores can carry Texas 34? They had no idea about those 3 districts in South Texas in 2020. Believe me, I pitched it. Anna Luna in Florida 13. They had no clue that Anna could win in 2020. They did not believe it. Not only is she going to win in 2022 in November, she's going to win pretty comfortably. Charlie Crist's seat is gone. They're flipping it. Republicans are flipping it. It's out of there. Taking back Tampa. But she could have won in 2020. She could have put Charlie Crist to bed in 2020. They didn't want to hear it. They believed the media narrative. They believed the fake polls. The NRCC, the leader, they're running around again. The leadership fund running around like Mitch, their counterpart in the upper chamber, like their hair's on fire or something. Crapping their pants, spending money where it shouldn't be spent. They're spent more in Ohio, folks, in the Senate race in Ohio than they did in Pennsylvania. Do you understand? They really believed that J.D. Vance was down that bad in Ohio. Some of it is intentional, and I've told you this before. But I'm telling you, these are stupid people. Ohio was never a problem. Not that I'm trying to put you out there, JD. I don't want people. I don't want you to call. Have somebody pick up the phone and call me and yell at me for not, pushing donations or something. Maybe I don't want to hurt your fundraising or anything. But the fact of the matter is, Ohio is not a problem. Pennsylvania is a problem. Marco Rubio is not in trouble. God. Oh my God. I swear. Why do I have to say this? The one poll that had Demings ahead of Rubio also happened to put Nikki Fried ahead of Charlie Crist by 4 points. The University of North Florida has some splaining to do. They blew 2020, they blew 2016, they blew 2018, they blew last night. They blew, I think they blew 2014. I have to go back and look. Hillary's going to beat Trump. Biden's going to beat Trump. What's his name? I forgot. The meth head who is under indictment now because the only reason why is because he defrauded Democratic donors. Otherwise, they would have let him be the governor of Florida. Gillum. Andrew Gillum's going to beat DeSantis. On and on and on and on and on and on. I'm telling you, one day I'm going to start an organization that does what APOR is supposed to do. Fake pollster scorecards, be damned. There'll be an A+ tomorrow. Watch. You watch. And stop copy and pasting my tweets and trying to put them into your own words. Don't you have an original thought in that tiny bald head of yours? Knock it off. It's annoying. Putting a left-wing spin on it does not mean you came up with it. Go walk your dog Fifi and attempt to come up with something on your own damn time, okay? Getting annoying. Why did it take, by the way, a little bit annoying? I called him out for it. I threw a little shade their way last night. New York 23 was over before 19 was over. In fact, it was over about 40 minutes before. Once Sempolinsky took the lead, it was over. And yet everybody was calling it for Ryan before over Molinaro when New York 23 was over. Pretty damn good polling by St. Pete Polls. I like them. I do. I was a little bit disappointed in 2018 when they when they basically caved, and they knew that DeSantis had a small lead and that Rick Scott had a small lead. And like 2 days later, because all of the other polls, Quinnipiac and everybody had big leads for Bill Nelson, had big leads for Andrew Gillum, CNN plus 12. Remember that? St. Pete caved, released a poll about 2 days after showing both Scott and DeSantis down by an equal 5. That is a load of you know what. But anyway, they're starting to make it up. Okay? They are starting to make it up. All right, look, I got something I got to do here, and I'm actually pretty stoked about doing it. All right? It's time to pay the bills. I'm not sure that I'm actually supposed to even do it today, but I'm going to do it because, listen, people are always like, oh, you're always talking about Dr. Squatch, blah, blah, blah. Nobody pays me for that crap, all right? But it is time to start doing that, and I'm only going to ever do it with products that I like, all right? Amen to that, right, sister?
Amen.
Amen to that, all right? So it is time to pay the bills. And before I do, because I am not kidding you, anything I do will personally use myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm a bit of a prepper, in case you don't know, all right? And I got a little minute here before I do it, but I'm a bit of a prepper. I guess it's fair to call us preppers.
Definitely.
I guess it would be fair.
No,
Look,
no way.
I got a generator on my house. I'm about to back it up because it's natural gas. I'm about to back it up with this company I'm going to tell you about with their solar panels, all right? But what do we talk about on the show all the time? Inflation, food shortages, right? And I'm looking at it right here, right on the thing. Food shortage could be coming even in the U.S., expert wrote just in July. Drought, inflation, even new policies are pushing America's food supply near to the breaking point. That is why Laura and I and you should be getting survival food. It's more important than ever. Create your own stockpile. We do. I kid you not. I got totes of this. Create your own stockpile. The best-selling 4 Patriots survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about 25 years. Stuff lasts 25 years, and it's delicious. I'm going on straight. It's delicious. All right? Hand-packed right in a family-owned facility in the US of A. The kits are compact, sturdy, water-resistant, and they stack easily because they come in these really industrial totes. And they stack up, and where we have them, just one right on top of another. They don't bend. They're light-resistant, water-resistant. It's incredible. They have delicious food. Breakfast, lunch, dinners. You make a meal in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water. And by the way, they will give you free gifts. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to get your 3-month survival food kit for only $6.97. They have other things as well, but check this out. You'll get all these free gifts. Here's one of them right now. I kid you not. This is a water purifier that is solar, folks. Solar. I kid you not, they did not give this to me. I bought this. I have been buying this stuff for a long time. So when I had the chance to do this, I jumped on it because if I believe in it, I'll tell you about it. All right. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after you order, plus 10 free gifts like that. Laura got seeds, a whole bunch of survivals that were really cool. Yeah, super cool stuff. And free shipping. 4 Patriots, they're called that because a portion of every sale that they have is donated to charities who support veterans, our veterans, and their families. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP. The link is in the description to build your own stockpile today. All right. And this was, by the way, this was a free gift too. A 72-hour survival food kit. What Laura and I do is take the kids, and because we have other stuff, the stove, the lighter, this was a free gift. It's incredible. And you can do it with, you can charge these packs with the solar stuff they have, which then you can use to either plug into your phone or use the Freedom Flame or whatever it may be. There's so much stuff. And like I said, I'm about to back up my generator with their solar panels because the natural gas only lasts as long as it does when there's like a serious crisis. So you need more than that. Anyway, we take the kids, we take the 72-hour food kits, and we, no joke, basically give them a scenario Get it done. Make sure you eat. forpatriots.com/TPP. All right. You look like you had something to say. How's David doing over there? Is he having an issue? I'm seeing something in the corner of my eye.
My laptop is dead, so that's why I said I need a charger.
I gave him the thing, though.
You gave him?
I gave it to him.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought he was saying he was having a problem.
Oh, then I will call him personally.
Yeah, call him.
So
Can you call him and figure that out for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that was you who said I can't. He's good. Never mind. I'm busting your chops for nothing. Laura tries. Let me tell you, when I do these election things and I'm up all night, Laura's up all night too, and then she has to deal with a just turned 3-year-old kid. So, it's not easy. All right.
And
so
school is open up and
yeah, back to school, which I'm kind of excited about. Did you guys see Spirit Halloween is up already? Dude, did I show you guys? I know I showed locals the book club. Can I get a jumping spider? I'm telling you, I'm gonna get you this year. All right, I'm gonna have stuff pop out of my desk and crap. All right, you watch. You really think I'm a prepper? forpatriots.com/TPP. People's Pundit. I'm a prepper, but I'm also I gotta be the cool. Look, can I be honest here? Can I take a little pat on my back here? I'm the coolest dad in the world. I had a great father. I did. He was great in his own way. Different kind of man, different generation. But I'm like fun. All right? Fun. It's like they watch a Hallmark thing. Like, look, Dad, look at the size of those like Christmas balls. The happy Christmas ball. Yeah, you're damn right. They show up in a couple of days. Halloween, I will scare those children to death. Laura thinks I'm a little too dark. But my daughter and I have a grand plan. You scare them so there's more candy for you later.
And then I had candy for months, guys.
You guys see this
for
thing?
months.
How freaking cute
Now,
is this?
This is Laura style.
This is Laura style, but look, we totally agreed. This is so cute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the locals community, especially the book club ones, they were on it. Scare Christmas balls, baby. I'll show them to you. Oh. They are. If you ever see, I'm stopping right there. Mine are huge. Basically, if you've ever seen Hallmark movies and you've seen the big one says happy or merry, mine says merry. One says merry, the other one says Christmas. They're that big. They're huge, man. They're great. And I'm like that guy. Oh, you want to show him Gizmo? All right, I'm gonna get into a poll here in a second, but yeah, let's do it.
And this is what Roman's going to be.
Gremlins!
Come on, Gizmo.
It's Gizmo, but it's from Gremlins.
Yeah, of course.
This is what our 3-year-old's going to be. I would have made him, a blood-sucking little vampire or a little demon child. She won't do that. She doesn't like doing that with the little kids. She's probably right, too. She's probably right. But, always right. Yeah, he's... yeah, I'm telling you, she doesn't like that stuff when they're that little. She just doesn't. All right, so let me stop sharing this. Let me pull up the YouGov, and before I bring on David, listen, I'm debating right now for the public polling project whether or not I want to have the whole slate of candidates that could potentially run against Donald Trump, like we did last time. Maybe add Gavin Newsom. Do I want to do that, or do I just want to do Trump v. Biden and Trump v. Biden v. Cheney running as an independent instead of a generic someone else? Because as you know, we always say third party, someone else, and give them the chance to do that because that is the way the ticket will really look. All right, so we mimic a ballad the best and most, mimic the ballad the best you can. All right, so I had argued after Cheney got her butt kicked, I had argued two things. First of all, one, the Wyoming at-large Republican primary looks a hell of a lot like the 2020 presidential election. Liz Cheney did not win that many Republican votes. Hold on one second. Yes, Liz Cheney did not win that many Republican votes. She was, in fact, aided at least a third of her margin, I'm estimating right now. Oh, we'll get the update real soon, so we'll be able to know. We'll be able to tell you. But in any event, at least the margin right now looks about like a third of it came from Democrats. So I made the case the next day when on Benny Johnson's show. I was talking about it with Quite Frankly. If you missed my monthly discussion with Frank, which we're going to have to increase the frequency of because when we get closer to the election, Frank's a good guy, great show. And Benny is funny as hell too. I'm just saying, Frank is a good guy, great show. Quite Frankly, if you don't see it, check it out. He talks about more than politics. It's very, very entertaining. All right. But we had discussed this. And I made, I don't know, probably 8 media appearances the day after the Wyoming Republican primary. And I told every single one of them, go ahead and run. Their little Operation Republican Mirage support for Liz Cheney failed miserably. So that's why it was delusional to us when she went up there and made that speech. But that was all choreographed and produced. It was production news. It's narrative news. They used the same people that they're using for January 6th. The point is, I'm talking about production people. Oh, yeah, it's that fake. All right. I am telling you, and I've been saying, I told every single one of them that day, Liz Cheney will hurt Joe Biden or whomever the 2024 nominee is more than she will ever hurt Donald Trump. This is a crappy poll of adults, and you guys know I am no fan of YouGov. This is a crappy poll of adults that basically polled a couple of things. 1, should Cheney run? 2, Trump versus Biden. Trump versus Biden versus Cheney, and the Republican nomination. There is no reason to release a poll of adults in a political poll. But they did it because this is what they do. YouGov isn't even like Synced or Dynata or whatever. You cannot even tell whether these people are truly registered voters. And in fact, they're not even trying in this poll. And Biden's still getting his butt kicked. Are you ready? Should Liz Cheney run? 19% of the country said yes. 51% said no. 31% said not sure. A majority said no. Shift your eyes down to the second row of demographics. All right. Should Liz Cheney run, yes or no, by party ID, 2020 vote, and cable news watchers? 30% of Democrats said Liz Cheney should run. 33 said no. That compares to only 10% of Republicans who said that Liz Cheney should run. When 70% said no. Another 20 were unsure. 15% of independents said yes. 57% said no. 27% said they were not sure. Of Biden voters, 35% said yes, Liz Cheney should run. 31% said no. Only 8% of Trump's voters said yes, and 78% said no. Should we go down to the cable news as well? You get the point. You get the point. Now, going to the GOP primary. Would she have any support? Nope. 6%. Donald Trump at 50. Ron DeSantis at 32. Trump is still like sky high in the morning consult poll. But again, both of these polls, you know I am not fans of. They have horrible track records. And I'm not sure how Morning Consult verifies their registered voters. I don't know. I'm just telling you from their track record. Ugh. Wisconsin, Biden plus 12, 11. Michigan, Biden plus 12, 11. Pennsylvania, Biden plus 10. Please. Florida, Biden plus 6. Should I keep going? Anyway, Liz Cheney has no support whatsoever. In fact, it comes from, most of her support came from 18 to 29-year-olds. Get it? 14% or 13% came from people who are not even registered. If you look at registered voters, it's even lower. 4%. So, let's take a look first at Trump v. Biden alone without Liz Cheney. If the 2024 election were held today, who would you vote for? In an adult sample, they can't get Biden any more than 3 points up. I don't know why that just went down. There it is. In a adult sample, Trump is kicking Biden's you-know-what among independents. He's losing less of Republicans than Joe Biden is losing to him of Democrats. So how did they get Joe Biden up by 3? Crappy weighting. They got Joe Biden up by 3 by having an adult poll that is more Democratic than the National Voter File database. You actually have to wait, Yahoo. You have to wait outside of reason. What a load of crap. They have more independents than they do Republicans. A lot more. Or quite a bit, significantly more. You think 2024 is going to be D plus 6? Does anybody believe that? For real? D plus 9? Anyone? Going once, going twice? So, all in all, Trump would be leading in this poll if they weighted properly. But they did not. All right? All right. So, also, let's look at Trump versus Biden versus Cheney. Trump takes an 8-point lead. 8 points. Liz Cheney takes 11%. Trump takes 37%. Joe Biden takes 29%. That's it. 29. So for those of you, by the way, who mock the hell out of our May presidential polling, kiss my Greek, Italian backside. Because there are a lot of Democratic voters who are not happy with their choices for 2024. They don't like Joe Biden and don't want him to run again. They don't even think he's fit. Nobody does. But you're asking them, who else is on the bench here? You're asking them to look backward. Bernie Sanders again? Hillary Clinton? Oh, God, save us all. Kamala Harris is not liked at all. Joe Biden still, amazingly, remains the strongest candidate against Donald Trump in 2024, according to our polling, for almost a year now. Liz Cheney is taking 12% of the female vote, only 10% of the male vote. She's taking 11% of 18 to 29. At least, by the way, they're weighting correctly by age. Not that they're weighting correctly by age. They're showing you the age categories correctly. I know others do it differently, including polls I like. I don't know why people don't have a standard that mimics the exit polls so you don't confuse people. All right? Anyway, she's taking 11% of 45 to 64. She's taking 14% of seniors. 11% of white vote, 10% of the black vote, 11% of the Hispanic vote. Donald Trump is carrying the Hispanic vote. Yes, that's right. He is carrying the Hispanic vote in this matchup. Let's take a look at parties, shall we? Donald Trump is taking double the number of Democrats than Joe Biden is taking of Republicans. Liz Cheney is taking almost double the number of Democrats than she is taking of Republicans. You understand? Are you seeing this here? 12% of Democrats would vote for Liz Cheney, only 7% of Republicans would vote for Liz Cheney, and only 13% of independents would. And Donald Trump is killing them with independents, 38 to 18. He's got a 20-point lead in a three-way race. I dare Liz Cheney to run as an independent. I dare her to run as an independent. I double dog dare you. Actually, I'm just jumping. I triple dog dare Liz Cheney to run for president. They're so slow. It's ridiculous. They think it's like 2016 again. 2016 most definitely hurt Hillary Clinton, but everyone thought that Gary Johnson was hurting Donald Trump. She's taking almost 20% of viewers who watch CNN, only 5% of Fox News. She's taking 10%, double of Fox viewers on MSNBC, double on people who don't watch cable news. I mean, this is obvious, folks. This is freaking obvious. This hurts Joe Biden. Go ahead and run, Liz. Go ahead and run. I freaking dare you. What a joke. You have got to be kidding me. Point made. Point made. Do we have to discuss this any further? And I knew it because I'm looking at the presidential matchups we did in May. Locals, you know what I'm talking about. Someone else with a third party is damaging Democrats more because Democrats don't see a leader in the future. Let's face it, Kamala, whatever, she was supposed to be Joe's replacement by now. Can we get real here? DC loves her. The politicos over at Cook Politico Report and Five Turd Fake, they loved her. The Washington Post, oh yeah, get me some Kamala Harris. Get in line. The problem is America doesn't like her. And I don't know, maybe the first tip-off should have been when she didn't make it to a single primary or caucus. Not one. And Gavin Newsom, again, I remain thoroughly skeptical. A Democratic nomination for president is at least 40% non-white. Which minority majority primary state is Gavin Newsom going to carry? I'm waiting. Bernie Sanders made inroads with black voters and Hispanic voters. Yet he was stopped in South Carolina. Not because black voters love Joe Biden, but because Barack Obama told them to vote for Joe Biden. Because James Clyburn told them to vote for Joe Biden. How is Gavin Newsom going to overcome this hurdle? He is a elitist, joker-faced, snob liberal from California. That is not going to play in the Palmetto State. That is not going to play in the Tar Heel State. That's not going to play in the Sunshine State. That's not going to play in the Peach State. That's not going to play in the Midwest. At all. I don't see it. Do you? And don't give me this, well, what about ism with Donald Trump? What about him? The blue-collar billionaire? He's going to crush, even if Gavin did get, by some miracle and divine intervention, Gavin Newsom got the Democratic nomination for president, he would lose damn near every Rust Belt state except for Illinois to Donald Trump. He would get thoroughly decimated. Pete Buttigieg. So Democratic voters are like, oh, yes, please give me a Cheney. That's how bankrupt their bench is. They want the daughter of a serial killer. They want the daughter of a mass genocidal maniac. They want the daughter, don't go hunting with her daddy. They'll take that. Big percentages of them. You saw it. They'll take that over Uncle Joe, Geriatric Joe. I got a funny name for Pete, but I don't want to say it because I'll get canceled. It's great, though. They don't know where to turn. Somebody else, and people are, what about Michelle Obama? I just don't think that that's a serious thing. I was thinking of, and I would curious to hear your thoughts. Throw them in the comments. What should we do here, folks? Should we just do what YouGov did? I like that idea of running it only like for real with Liz Cheney. Or should we do, the gamut of Democratic primary potential nominees? I was going to do it. I'll show you the questionnaire so far for the public polling project that I very, 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 very much hope we kick off on Saturday. I was thinking of doing it then, but and then adding Michelle Obama. But I just think it's a joke. It almost doesn't matter because whatever it shows right now, maybe she would lead Donald Trump. I don't know. I'm just saying she's very much like Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. She's just not nice. Once Americans get to know her, then the facade that the media has put on, this fake image, melts away. And that little girl was me and you're a nasty woman moments come out. Hillary Clinton once had a 60% favorability rating in Gallup, ladies and gentlemen. 60 plus when she was the Secretary of State. The country never liked her as the First Lady. They felt sympathetic towards her when the affair stuff was coming out during the Clinton administration, and she got some kind of sympathies over that. She would have lost the nomination of Obama early if she didn't cry on national camera and put out those crocodile tears before the New Hampshire primary. So this stuff happens, and it has very real impact on voters' views of candidates. But then she decided to run for president, and people thoroughly got a look at her. Kamala will never, Michelle and Kamala, you will not see them on the campaign trail together, Laura. I'll tell you that right now. We all know why that is. It's like the worst kept secret. Well, they keep it from you, but but they don't keep it from that. Can't you just Bing me or something? They're besties. They are not besties. Her husband and Kamala were besties. They hate each other. You might notice during Michelle Obama's 2020 convention speech, she never once mentioned Kamala Harris. Not once. It was about Joe. It was about her husband, the work of her husband being erased by Donald Trump, how we're all a bunch of horrible, horrible people. We're just a country of horrible people forever electing Donald Trump. We're immoral. Remember that stupid picture? Remember that? Hashtag bring our girls home. Do you remember that crap? When I was in Dallas, I found out intimately what happened to many of those girls while Miss Obama was holding up a stupid hashtag. They were raped, sold off, killed. All of that stuff comes up during an actual election. And have you ever seen Mrs. Obama, try to handle criticism? Have you ever seen her respond to an adversarial question, an adversarial remark? The nasty woman mantra, the hashtag nasty woman, is coming back in force, baby. So I think probably she could win a Democratic nomination. Democrats are stupid in nostalgia like that. They're stupid for nostalgia like that. They really are. I mean, look, anyone who trashes Trump, they have their sins forgiven. It doesn't really even matter. I mean, they'll vote for a Cheney, for crying out loud. They wanted 20 years ago to hang her father for war crimes at The Hague. I kid you not. And there it was. Some of them are dead. Those girls have been forced into marriages and impregnated by their rapists. But don't worry, Michelle. Hashtag bring our girls home. What a friggin' joke. What a joke. All right, it's the 1 o'clock hour. Let's take that quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 45 seconds with David Giglio. All right. So hang tight. Don't forget, you can follow me on Truth and Getter at People's Pundit, on Twitter at People's_Pundit, and on Rumble is People's Pundit. YouTube is People's Pundit. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. Rumble, you don't have to do that at all. They will let you know. Just give us those little pluses, Rumble pluses, whatever you want to call them. All right, I'm going to cut this short so I can do my little read. We can go over those kits again real quick for a 30-second read. And so I'm going to cut what Bad Habit early, and then we'll get into it with David and go from there to take some questions. I know I saw there was a lot of questions. We'll take some today. All right, Laura, grab some questions, throw it in the private chat. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow.
All right, like I said, I'm cutting it short. All right, we're back watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Peoples_Pundit, on Truth and Getter at People's Pundit. And the best place you can follow me is right down there, peoplespundit.locals.com. All right, let's take a real quick second before we bring on David. Again, I want to go ahead and tell you to throw some questions into the comments section, and we shall get to them today. All right, with some of them, because I know on Fridays we try to get to as many as we can. I saw that Corey Mills one, Laura. That's a good one. Throw some other ones in there as well. All right, we'll talk about that versus Sabatini. We'll also talk about the neighboring district over there with Laura Loomer if you want. We'll definitely get to that. Maybe even I can hold on to David and he'll speak about it with us. All right, but let me go ahead and bring in not only the special guest, but I will tell you, my friend, David Giglio, a good guy who ran for Congress in CA 13, was smart enough to see that there are not enough Republican voters in California's 13th congressional district, so that you would need more diverse coalition with the America First message. Now that they got their old white electorate in the primary, again, without Donald Trump, that's what happens. It has now dawned on them. And I imagine today they're probably very panicked. And it has dawned on them that you, oh my God, need that 15%. No, Sherlock. All right, David Giglio, ladies and gentlemen. Let me bring him in.
Hey, what's up, Britt? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, man, I hear you loud and clear. How you doing? Thanks for joining.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting through. You tweeted last night, and then I retweeted it. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing the wrath of those white suburban Republican voters that don't like to be told that's not the future of the party. It's crazy,
David. It's painful to watch them because they were really so very sure of themselves last night. They really were. I mean, they really thought. Because those Twitter accounts very much represent the thinking of people like Kevin McCarthy and others. They really believed that Molinaro was going to win that race by at least 8 points. They believe that crap, man.
I know. I was seeing people posting that there's no way Ryan's going to win. They don't understand it. And one of the things I said that's getting me, some heat right now is obviously we know the playbook's going to be if the Republican wave doesn't surface in November, they're going to blame Donald Trump. They're going to blame MAGA Republicans. Mitch McConnell's already doing it. Don't think just because Kevin McCarthy says he's America First and he tweets some America First thing every week after Rich calls him out on something that he believes in that. He's going to do. I mean, it takes Rich to call him out before he grows any spine. So he's going to blame Trump.
Yeah. We're punking him, David, just so people understand. David's right. They watch the feed, and when I start beating on them, they come like, oh my God, I got to go pick up the phone and call John Gibbs. Oh my God, I got to go tweet something America first, because they're afraid. They are. And
Well,
he's
and
at this point. Go ahead.
No, and that's the thing I've tried to tell people about Kevin. Kevin, in a way, I think is harder for me to stand than Mitch McConnell, because Mitch has become just this outright, Mitch is finally revealing himself. He's anti-Trump. I mean, I always knew Mitch never liked Trump, but Kevin knows what he needs to stay where he is. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for it. And these people that were pushing, that expected New York 19 to go differently, they're falling for this stuff. They, listen, the country's changing. I mean, you can look at the demographics. You can get mad when I post a chart that shows that the white population, white suburban America, is declining. And the ones that are left are just not open to the GOP message. There's not enough of them.
David, let me ask you. You knocked on 40,000 doors in your campaign, all right? And we can get into that crap. I mean, they spent millions of dollars to stop you after you were already in that race for, 8 months before they started searching for, but before they started searching for other people, you were in 8 months. You had like all of the base endorsements, the county parties. They didn't want you because you were not a solid vote for Kevin McCarthy. Here is the story, folks. All right. Just David was like, I'll work with Kevin. I look forward to working with Kevin, but we'll see. I will support who is the person who is best to bring the America First message to the country and bring that agenda forward in the legislative chambers, and that wasn't good. And he never said a bad word before that against Kevin McCarthy. It was just simply that he wouldn't bend over for Kevin McCarthy. So he went and found someone who would, after throwing 3 different failed attempts and bribing one to get out of the race. All right. Well, which is, by the way, go ahead. I want to point out, did you ever hear from these suburban voters, man, when you were knocking on their doors? Who was more open to a Republican message when you were knocking on doors? Like, I want you to tell people this.
I just spoke to a group last night, and I said this flat out. I knocked on a lot of doors myself. So like you said, I got to hear these people firsthand. And I'll tell you what, the Latino working class voters were the ones who were the easiest to talk to. They were constantly expressing to me, one of the common themes was, oh my God, I can't believe you're at my door. I'm so glad you're here. They were so happy that I was knocking on their door. They loved the populism. They loved the things we were talking about, helping them protect their jobs, their families, their schools. And those were the ones that embraced me. And actually, it was the white voters that were the trouble. They were like, I don't know, the only people that ever questioned me about Donald Trump were the white suburban voters. They were like, wow, Trump, he's so mean or rude. And do you remember
that one woman? Do you remember that one woman who's like a textbook Karen? I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. And remember when you were like talking about cost of living and you're like, our fellow Americans are suffering. And she was like, it doesn't bother me. I make plenty of money. Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, that was the craziest thing. She's like, well, I don't care because I'm retired and I have good enough money. And actually that came up more than once. And I was like, so shocked that people would say that. Well, it doesn't bother me. It's the price you pay, right? For a civilized society is almost what this line is. And then I go out and 4 of the counties that my race was in, these are the poorest counties in California. I mean, these people cannot afford $5 gas. They have to make choices to feed their families or go to work. And they just want somebody who's presenting them something different. And the key is that Republicans don't understand. They want courage. Because, Rich, you talk about this all the time. What do they get from Republicans? We promise you the world, and we get into power, and we don't do anything. And they are just so skeptical of it. You said, what are these Latino voters when they think of Republicanism? They think of the housing crisis, right? A lot of them still remember what went on then.
And they were hurt the most by that, David. They were hurt the most. Hispanics were disproportionately hit hard by that housing crisis. And, by the way, there's another one, or at least a homelessness issue that we're about to get smacked with. If the data is right, people can't pay the mortgages. They can't pay their rent, David. We have some real problems coming. And they were, there's just these people, to get them to vote now, you really have to inspire them. But you can't do that And by the way, people who didn't see it, and I want you to tell people when your show was, because it was fantastic. It was an hour of truth bombs.
Yeah, we're gonna have it every Monday on YouTube, Getter. The thing
6:30 Pacific, 6:30
Pacific time, so 9:30 Eastern
Yeah.
time, and I felt that it's important just to, they wanted me to bend the knee after the election. It was time to come together and support our crony. We stabbed you in the back, but it was just business, right?
That's
Be a
exactly
good
what
boy-
they said.
Be a
Yeah.
good boy, and we'll give you a bench seat, and you can work your way up. And I sit here and I say, I don't want to be part of the problem, because the people I spoke to, they're tired of that. That is the one thing that they tell me. Rich, how many people did we talk to that they would never vote Republican if it wasn't for Donald Trump?
Never.
How much do you see that?
And that's
around
why
the
you won
country?
that's why you won those precincts you did in out and around in Merced specifically. There's like David's out there knocking on doors in the ghetto, folks. I'm kidding you not. I in the ghetto. And these voters, if you did that, then they would never vote Republican again. Like,
And
so
I
you
have-
got them to come out. They would look at you the same way they look at every other politician.
And this is the thing, you made the greatest point. In a primary, especially in California, we have our unsolicited mail-in balloting. It's designed to get those older white electorates. It's easy for them to send in their votes. But when you're not embracing the Trumpy message, and when Kevin McCarthy is actively sabotaging the Trumpy message for a more stale form of Republicanism, like Romneyism, those people aren't going to show up in off-year elections
Nope.
when Trump is not on the ballot, because they're going to look and they're going to say, I'm not getting anything different. It's the same crap over and over again. I could vote for the Democrat and the Republican. It's the same kind of thing. They just will not show up. And like you made the key point, you can win in a primary on that message, but in certain places, it will not work in a general election. You have to expand.
And that's the problem they find themselves in right now, David. They need your percent. They need it.
And I want to ask people what, somebody was hounding me on Twitter this morning. If Donald Trump came up with such the wrong formula, how come Mitt Romney and John McCain couldn't win Michigan, couldn't win Pennsylvania, couldn't win Wisconsin? Mitt Romney launched his campaign at a GM factory in Detroit, right? And he didn't, no chance in Michigan. Their brand is not going to appeal to the working class people of this country. And that's the growing part of the electorate. And somebody made a comment that I was, the replacement theory, right? That I was pushing all that because, oh my God, you don't want to win.
The replacement theory. They can't. It's like they pretend like we just came up with this out of nowhere. They've been talking about it for decades.
Well, and I said you're misinterpreting what I'm saying too. I'm not saying just get rid of white people. You have to build a diverse coalition. Working class doesn't mean Hispanics or minorities. There are working class whites that won't vote Republican unless it's America first. That's why Trump won Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, because they were like, holy crap, I can't believe this is a Republican talking like this.
Yes.
They never heard it before. And the GOP is...
Obama did better with those voters than the exit polls and even the pre-election polls suggested. That's why he won, and he won. And this is what last night, David, I was remembering this because for people who don't know what it was, Project Orca was this get out the vote operation Mitt Romney put together, and it was like supposed to be this high-tech thing. By the way, who'd they get to help them build it? Are you ready? Microsoft. This is how dumb these people are. And they didn't think that somehow Microsoft would put something in there to sabotage their app. Of course they would, you idiots. But anyway, David, they were totally stunned on election day when it was over by basically 9:30, 10:30 at night. They really believed that these people were going to come out for Mitt Romney. And when people did the analysis, the initial take and then the autopsy was like, we didn't win enough Hispanics. We didn't get enough Hispanic voters. We got to do that. Then, others like me and Sean Trendy at Real Clear Politics, we were making the case, you're looking at this too narrowly. You didn't get enough working class voters. And with under that umbrella comes an increased support among minority groups because you can only max out the white working class vote so much. All right. That's what they wanted. They claimed what America First is doing right now. They claimed they wanted that, David. That was their goal to get these people, but they were full of crap. They were always full of crap.
Nothing's more apparent than here, right? So one of the things the top of the brass that
That's
GOP
right.
doesn't understand, we criticize Democrats all the time for playing identity politics. But I will tell you this, our leadership and the consultants, they're playing identity politics. I was in a room where they told me I couldn't run in this district because I wasn't a Latino, that you needed to be a Latino. And this is the thing they're mistaking about these Latino voters. They're not understanding. Latino voters aren't voting Republican because of Donald Trump wasn't Latino, right? He was a loud, abrasive guy from New York.
Right.
And they said no Latino would ever cast a ballot for him. And he got more Latino votes since Nixon, right? They don't care what the color of your skin is. It's the message. And they like people who fight. They came from countries where socialism destroyed their countries. They remember that. And they're saying, we need somebody who's going to protect us against that. And when they look at the stale Romney GOP, they don't see that. They don't see those fighters. They see somebody who's going to cave. And that's the problem that the GOP is making here. And let me tell you, when they tell you they want Latino voters, ask the RNC why in Bakersfield, in Kevin's backyard, they put their Latino outreach center in the whitest part of Bakersfield, far away from the Latino minority communities, because they don't actually want to associate with their voters.
For show, brother.
And this is what I told a group of people last night I spoke to. They detest the people that Trumpism brings in. Populism is it's close to liberalism. It's just we disagree on how to get where we want to, the means to get to the end. We disagree on how to get there. Liberals want the government to do it all for people. Populism is more of like we're going to help you a little bit, but we're going to make sure that you can elevate yourself. But the type of voters that this brings into the Republican Party, the people at the top of the Republican Party don't want to hang out with these people. These are people that shop at Walmart. These are people that shopped at Kmart in the 1990s. These are people that sit on their couch and they're loud, they're abrasive, they're lower class. They don't want to be with those people. They would never sit in a room with them. And so they recognize that, hey, we have to try and fool them to get them to vote for us. But the American people are smart. You always say this. They can sense when they're being lied to. And they know that regardless of what somebody says on TV, they know who's true and who's not true. And
they have great BS detectors. They do.
Yeah, and that's the issue we're facing. And so, and then you look at the Republican Party. You mentioned something back. I wanted to say this. How many of them, remember when Mitch McConnell, I can't believe Joe Manchin did that, right? Oh my God, he negotiated with the Democrats behind our back. If any Republican was caught off guard by that, you don't deserve to be elected anywhere, because I was telling people from the beginning that Joe Manchin, if you're counting on Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema to stop us, then you're out of your mind. Because Democrats stick together. And I was disgusted when I heard leadership say, how could he betray us? He's not a Republican.
Yeah, that's
These
right.
guys
As if
need to wake
they
up.
thought they thought what, that they owed them something? They really, I mean, this is, then you hear the people. And I got to bring this up because I saw you on Twitter with this as well, because you saw the polling we were doing. Then they're always looking back and trying to point a finger. It's never in the mirror, of course. But you know what? If it wasn't for Donald Trump, we would never have lost the Senate in the first place. There would have been Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue to stop this. They lost those damn seats, David. You know it. You saw the polling. I was telling you what these people were saying. They were pissed off that it was a couple things. One, with Republicans, the base was mad that they didn't defend Trump, and over what they saw was obvious irregularities. All right. Two, the independents didn't want to vote for them because of the insider trading schemes, which, by the way, when you were running, I wish more people would have gotten that message. David was adamantly opposed. It's not just you. It's got to be your spouse. These blind trusts are bullcrap. Everyone knows they're bullcrap. These people insider trade all the damn time. Well, that's why, it's like a wink and a nod to your broker, David, not to sell stock or come on. I mean, really. But that hurt them. And then the Mitch McConnell hurt him by squashing the $2,000 stimulus checks. I mean, this was all we heard about polling that damn state.
I mean, I was the same way. One of the reasons I decided to run, because I was like those voters in Georgia. I knew what I was going to get with the Democrats. My uncle, the second COVID started, the first thing he said to me, he lives down in Escondido. He's a smart guy. He goes, they're going to use this to beat Trump in the election. They're going to drag this out, and they're going to get mail-in voting, which they've been doing in California for decades. They're going to bring it around the country, and they're going to use it to beat him. And I was pissed because I said, wait a minute, I knew what the Democrats were going to do, but then the Republicans didn't fight. The NRCC or the RNC raised all this money after the election saying they were going to go to court and they were going to fight these battles. They did nothing. And I know a lot of people say Trump raised a lot of money. They left Trump on his own to fight his own battles. They didn't provide lawyers for him. They didn't help him anywhere. And in most cases, they sabotaged him. So I don't think you have to look anywhere different. Look at the race I'm near where it's going to happen in November. I was talking to a group last night, like I said, David Valadao. They're going to blame Trump. They're going to blame Republicans, but people are not going to vote for him because they remember it was 2 years ago. They remember he voted to impeach Donald Trump. And they're going to blame me if John does not win this race now. They're going to blame me too. But John is going around telling people. The NRCC told me David Valadao is their ideal Republican is David Valadao.
The ideal Republican is David Valadao. Sam Spencer, the National Republican Congressional Committee. I hope you hear what he just said. This is who the Republican Party, current leadership in its form right now, that's who they think should be the ideal Republican, David Valadao. And he is the one who survived. Dan Newhouse survived too because of the situation on the ground. Had there not been that many Republicans, Dan Newhouse would have lost. But again, why did Newhouse survive, but Herrera Butler did not, David? Because Washington 3 is more working class than Washington 4. So there are too many educated voters in that district, and that saved Dan Newhouse. It's another point, another piece of data that is proving the point we are making. In 13, you tried to explain to them that an old, basically rich white dude who thinks that Hispanic voters have to vote for them because he employs them is not going to get these voters to come out for him. And now they are probably going to blame you if he loses. But you know what? After what I saw last night, he is going to lose. He is, because he's going to get killed. Gray is going to kill him in Stanislaus. I mean, there are more educated areas in Merced and Stanislaus. He's going to get drummed.
And we tried to, it's crazy because you and I, your work was one of the only reasons they even looked at this part of California. And instead of taking the lessons you were telling them, right? You were saying, here, this is how you guys can expand the electorate and win and shock the world. They looked at the data and they said, well, we're going to tell you how we can win it. Thank you for telling us it's winnable, but we're going to tell you how we can win it. We don't believe in what the hocus pocus you're selling us. We're gonna run the same thing we've run for decades in California. Yeah. The California GOP, the consultants have not won a statewide race in almost 30 years. They have not picked up seats in the state assembly and the state legislature for 30 years, and it's always someone else's fault, right? It's never their fault. Well, somebody's, those backwards voters, right? It's not their fault.
It's Larry Elder's fault. It's, even though we told them, because we were doing the work with you and on the recall, I told them, David, they're wasting money in Orange County and San Diego. Because you were there. You're wasting the money in Orange County and San Diego. The Central Valley is voting yes. And they wouldn't hear. They wouldn't listen.
Well, and the Central Valley voted yes, and they didn't even spend any money here. The Democrats were the ones. The Democrats they were putting posters up on light posts saying, stop the Republican recall. The only thing the Cal GOP did in the Central Valley for the recall was they sent a bunch of handouts and flyers. They did not come down here. They did not help. Once Larry Elder was going to be the nominee, they gave up. They wanted Faulkner, and they said, we can't let a guy like this win because, listen, Rich, you talk about this all the time. People like Karl Rove, people like Frank Luntz, they have spent their entire careers telling GOP candidates and party leaders, here's the formula on how to win. And this is the only formula that can win. And then Trump came along with Steve Bannon in 2016, and they came up with this working class populism, and it did the things that they could never do. And that's why they want to stop it, because if their meal ticket depends on them being able to sell this establishment cronyism, they don't actually care if they win. They just need to keep the money flowing.
And people are saying, why? Why did Orange County supposed to be Republican? Why did it do that? There are more educated white voters in Orange County. Okay, I mean, this is not freaking rocket science, people. All right? This is not rocket science. This is simple arithmetic. All right? I don't know how anyone could look at it any other way. Why are they so obsessed, one person wrote, with these white college suburbanites? David said it before. they don't want to represent the working class. They don't like them. They don't have anything in common with them. They're embarrassed by them. And it doesn't matter whether it's white working class, Hispanic working class, black working class. They are embarrassed by these people. They don't share anything in common with them. They talk a good game, but they don't want to. Look, his Hispanic Outreach Center goes to white Bakersfield. I mean, this is a joke. It's a token gesture. It's not serious.
Look at the Republican that Brian Dahle running for governor. His sales pitch a month ago, when he finally got interviewed, was, you guys should vote for me because I'm quote unquote not a crazy Republican. This is what they think of the base. They're saying the quiet part out loud now because they're saying, well, if we can't get those MAGA people to support us, we're going to try and get the people they're trying to get with that message are never going to vote for you. Okay. But they are ashamed of their base. And one of the things I've been sounding the alarm on with the Republican Party is political parties are supposed to adapt, right, Rich? I mean, you're supposed to listen to your base, okay? And you're supposed to take what your base wants and expand upon it. You are not supposed to say, no, you guys are stupid. We're going to shove our version of what the party should be down your throat. You cannot survive as a political party in the long term with that philosophy. You cannot kick your base in the face over and over and over again and expect to be a dominant political force. It's not going to happen. And I get that all the time now. The people here are saying that's one of the obstacles. That's why it was so hard to get the people to show up in the primary that weren't these white, older suburbanites, because they're so turned off by what's been going on with the GOP. And I think you noticed it too. A lot of the independents in my district were Republicans that refused to register at the Republican Party because they were so disgusted with the California GOP.
And they paint everybody in California with the same brush as Orange County and San Diego. There was no doubt that parts of California, Trump was toxic. But in your area, he was not at all. And he had a higher favorability rating than Joe Biden. He was in that district. Joe Biden carried by about 12 points. It's debatable, but let's call it 12 points. We saw Trump, at one point we were asking people, who did you vote for? It was pretty much on the money. They were switching they had changed their minds. And then with the advent of participation of these new voters, if Trump would have gotten involved in that district, you would have seen a higher turnout. We heard it all the time. We heard it in polling. You heard it on the doors.
Tell me,
that's right.
Want to see who Trump endorses. We want to see.
We'll wait until Trump. That's right. Because it almost didn't matter that you said it. They wanted to hear it from Trump himself, right? I mean, that's it. And they would have voted. They would have.
No, and that's the thing. They I saw somebody talking about Sabatini in Florida, and
let's go there.
I've met Anthony a couple times, and I thought he was going to do it, but they spent a lot of money against him. And one of the things, I don't know what to think of Corey Mills. I'm a little concerned just because I know he has expressed some neocon type things in the past. I think that was a smart play by Kevin. I think Kevin McCarthy played it smart there. He said, I'm going to put someone in there that I know Donald's not going to go against to keep him from helping Anthony. But this is the thing. Voters, we got to stop getting fooled by leadership, and we have to.
They almost fooled Joe Kent's voters. They almost got Joe.
This is what I tell people.
Sending out all those mass, spending millions of dollars against a gold star husband, David, whose wife was killed in Syria because the freaking establishment didn't think they had to listen to a lawful order from a duly elected president of the United States. They spent millions of dollars smearing him in that damn district and telling voters that Heidi St. John's is the Trump-endorsed candidate.
They sent out a mailer. They sent out a mailer that
there were dozens
had
of them, dude.
Adolf Hitler on it. They were comparing Joe Kent to Adolf Hitler. And this is what I tell people. Kevin McCarthy could post all the America First tweets he wants. People need to go on the FEC website, look at the Congressional Leadership Fund, follow the money. If Kevin McCarthy was America First, why is he funding America First candidate? Or why is he funding anti-America First candidates across the country? And this is the thing that I hope that, we know 2024 is coming. I do hope that Trump eventually sees this. I know personally firsthand because I know people that work for Kevin. I'll tell you a little story here that I haven't spoken too much publicly. I did tweet about it finally. they hate Kevin. They hate Donald Trump. The people that work for
They hate his
Kevin
guts.
are anti-Trumpers. So much so that my best campaign staffer, Alfredo Miranda, this kid knocked on so many doors. Kid's a rock star. He was the first Latino in his family to graduate college. His parents came here 30 years ago. First Latino's family to graduate college. Kevin McCarthy's team called up Alfredo and told him, you need to stop working for David. There's a difference between establishment and outsiders, and David is not with us. If you continue to work for David and you don't switch and go help John, you will never work in politics again. That's what they told him.
You hear that, folks? They're threatening a 19-year-old kid, the first of his family, to graduate from a smart kid too. This kid really is. I'll tell you what, the work ethic of Alfredo is just unmatched, unparalleled, man. And then what do they do? Threaten him.
Yeah, you know what he said to me? He goes, my parents came from nothing. They left a country where they had nothing. I would rather be broke than sell my soul to work for something that I don't believe in. And that's what he told them. And that is the thing. Do they want these Latino voters? They only want these Latino voters if these Latino voters bend the knee and support the type of candidates they want. And like you said, they paint California with the same brush. They cannot accept the fact that in this part of California, it is still very conservative. Abortion, those kind of things are big issues to the voters here. And just because the Cal GOP doesn't want to make Roe v. Wade an issue or doesn't want to make pro-life an issue, doesn't mean voters in the Central Valley, it's not important to them. The Cal GOP still hasn't issued a statement on Roe v. Wade. And people here, they're Catholics, man. I mean, these are conservative, but you're not giving them a message to get them on your side. And they sense being scared. And we have to be smarter as a party and as voters.
They're the least likely to get an abortion, David. Hispanic women, even though we constantly hear this from the media all the time, they're wrong. It is only black women in the minority. As far as minorities go, it's only black women who get abortions. Hispanic women and I'm loud, Laura. Sorry, she's telling me I'm loud. Hispanic women and Asian women are the least likely to get abortions. Less likely than white women, far less likely than white women, and far less likely than black women. So this is a bit of a scam here. You know, they don't want to offend those white women. That's really what this comes down to. And these are, again, who? White, educated, liberal women. You're not winning these voters. It's not happening. But speaking of sales pitch, can you hang tight for 1 second while I make mine?
Yeah.
All right. Hang tight. Stay with us if you have time, right?
I got time.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So again, let me pop this. I meant to do this before. A food shortage could be coming. Even in the U.S., expert wrote as recently as July. Drought, inflation, and even new policies are pushing America's food supply near its breaking point. That's why survival food is more important than ever. Create your own stockpile, like Laura and I, of the best-selling 4 Patriot survival kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking good for 25 years, super survival food, handpicked right in a family-owned facility in the US of A. The kits are compact, they're sturdy, water resistant, and stack easily. They're also light resistant for people who don't know much about this stuff. When you start to read about it, you'll see that it is very important to keep this food out of light if you want it to last as long as it can. And of course, to keep it away from moisture. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to get your 3-month survival kit. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after you order, plus 10 free gifts and free shipping. They're called 4 Patriots because a portion of every sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to build your own stockpiles today. And again, like I said, I will never ever, David, push anything I personally don't use. This is the stuff Laura and I were telling you about. It's delicious, and this was part of the free kits, that the free stuff they sent us along with that, because you'll get a bunch of these free gifts. It was that water boiling solar. It really does work, and of course it works. But I'm saying it will absolutely purify. I still go with iodine. If you want to boil it up, make coffee. You just pop open this thing, the wings open up. I don't know what what I don't know if everything will change as time goes on, but every one of those free gifts we found extremely useful. And this is one of the coolest things, man. The Freedom Flame, I'll tell you right now. Guys, that's part of the spiel is over. But I'm telling you, I told you I'm a bit of a prepper. You don't have to be a prepper to make sure that you're prepared for Joe Biden's America. And that's just a fact. I mean, I'm David. Holy crap.
I mean, what's going to happen if I do believe that I think that they're probably going to try and indict Trump.
Yeah, me too.
And because that's why they want this in a DC district court. I think they're going to do it. And I think they're going to misplay their hand. People are going to say, whoa, what is going on here? I mean, people are scared. This is even some Democrats. It just came out today. The New York Post just broke an article, right? Because remember, right after the raid, the Biden White House said we didn't even know what was going on, right? Now it's showing that President Biden actually is the one who told the FBI to look at these documents and to go investigate. So you say it all the time. Remember when Trump was on the campaign stage with Hillary Clinton, he made the comment. You remember when he said, "Oh, if it was me, you'd be in jail," right? And the media went nuts, and even Republicans went nuts. Oh my God, you cannot say you're going to prosecute your political opponent. How could Trump do this? That is unworthy of the presidency. They are doing it now.
Yeah, but I remember, I mean, geez, David, it wasn't that long ago when he got impeached because of the supposed crime of investigating your likely political rival who was leading you in the polls. I mean, again, we should just put it up right here, especially if Cheney runs. Trump is going to kill them. He's going to clobber them. And, you know, it's probably the best thing social media did was take him away from Twitter and places like that, because now all that we hear when we poll is that he has the "I told you so" argument, which is one of the most powerful arguments in American politics. You know, he could pull a Grover Cleveland because Grover Cleveland had the "I told you so" argument. I told you free silver was stupid. I told you they would bankrupt the economy. I told you they would, or bankrupt the Treasury. I told you that they would crash the economy. It basically destroy the money supply. Inflation would go nuts. There's a lot of parallels to what happened with Grover Cleveland.
Well, it's the best economy we've ever seen, according to the Dems right now. But you're right. Trump has the "I told you so," and that's the thing in our district where we polled. Right, you had those people because the Cal GOP is a non-existent force here, and because a lot of the electeds run from Trump, they don't want to associate with Trumpism. These people got duped because the Democrats control the narrative in California, so they scared everyone to death with COVID. They made people think Trump was being reckless and this kind of thing. And so these people voted. They told you, right, Rich? Remember how many people told you the poll? I voted for Biden, and then Trump was leading when we said, who'd you vote for again? So they admitted,
absolutely,
I got duped.
Yep.
And I regret it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And that's happening in areas like this across the country. And I want to reemphasize again, because people are harped up on this thing like, oh my God, you're saying, oh, we only need to appeal to Latino voters. Working class voters are not just Latinos. That's why I don't understand why people are saying it's just the math is there that educated whites are a shrinking portion of the population. Every suburban soccer mom you lose because of America Firstism, you're going to get 5 voters that never would have voted Republican ever in their life. That's
and
why
you would
Trump
think
won.
you'd think the primaries would show that, David. Look at the record turnouts we've seen when there were these fights. You know, the turnout, the MAGA turnout in Arizona was like unheard of. Wyoming, unheard of. Wisconsin, down the line. And I mean, again, Florida is probably one of the most MAGA states, I would say, on the Republican side. Look at that. I mean, they really didn't even have a contest statewide outside of the commissioner's seat.
Look how close Loomer came. And I mean, you see how they painted
God.
her. I mean, but they talk about her like she's, what did Nate Silver or Wasserman tweeted right after? Far right alt activist Laura Loomer. And she almost beat
Fringe,
an incumbent. And by the way, Florida counts their votes. Great. I know you were tweeting about it. I mean, you saw what happened in California. We have 30 days of counting here. 30 days.
And this is why California is going the way it's going. I just wanted to show people this. So California gains college graduates while losing less educated. And it's from the Public Policy Institute of California, net migration from 2012 to 17. And this is what you're basically looking at, folks, that People with no high school diploma, people with high school graduate or a high school graduate, have some college or an associate degree, are a declining share. They are leaving the state of California. The only ones who move to the state of California that was a net gain is bachelor's or graduate degree. There's no salt of the earth, middle of the road working class in the state of California anymore, or there is still in the Central Valley, which is why that's where Republicans have been performing the best.
And they're leaving the
but
Central Valley. My
but
neighbor's moving to
they have been
Oklahoma.
leaving.
My neighbor's moving to Oklahoma in a month and a half because they're like, I can't take it anymore. This is the thing.
Yeah.
You cannot live in California and be a middle class person anymore. We're getting the full taste of socialism in California, the welfare state. You get the haves at the top and the have-nots at the bottom. There is no in between. And California, listen, you could talk about our budget surplus all you want. It's a load of crock. As the welfare state expands, when you are starting, because companies are leaving, middle class is leaving, the rich aren't going to pay enough. It's going to collapse. Okay. And this is what people have
even
to understand.
Tinseltown wanted to leave, David. Even Tinseltown went to the Atlanta metro area, for crying out loud.
I think
they have their own small little Hollywood over there now because of it.
Average price of a home in San Francisco is like $900,000. And that is like a box. I mean, you're talking about some of them are less than 1,000 square feet. So you cannot live here and be middle class. And these that are working for these tech companies in Silicon Valley, these educated people, they're making their money so they can suffer through it. And they're also not dealing with the anarchy that's going on in the streets. But yeah, I mean,
well, that's what somebody had asked. If I may, what is up with like Brian Dale? Why isn't he attacking Newsom for trying to get Rose McGowan to shut up about Weinstein? Might as well go after him on an issue like that in a blue state. What do you think about that? You think you could kind of like in a state like California statewide use liberals' own concerns against them, or do would it not even matter? What do you think?
Gavin, at least in parts of LA, Gavin could do anything and the people are going to vote for him. One of the problems I think that Republicans, Dolly,
and in the Bay Area,
I know a lot of the consultants here in California, they do not like to be aggressive because they don't want to come off as that mean, quote unquote, crazy Republicans. They are unwilling to attack in a way that they need to win. Listen, you have to draw a contrast between your opponent. If you just play patty cake, people aren't going to vote for you because they say, what is this guy going to do that Gavin, you know what I mean? Like he's just going to be a little wishy-washy. And I think that's the mistake Republicans make. They are not aggressive. They are not willing to look at what the Democrats do in their campaign. They will destroy your character. Nothing
or even the establishment. Look what they did with Greg. Look at what happened to Greg Ratz. And yes, he was caught, basically saying something insensitive. I don't know that I would say I don't know that I would characterize what he said as anti-Semitic. He misspoke and it came off really bad. But they had young Kim and her campaign had no problem maligning the hell out of the character of a veteran and a man who served and for years. They had no problem tarnishing a man of uniform.
My opponent sat across from me. My opponent sat across from me in a Denny's booth and told me that they, quote unquote, they're going to destroy your character. It's not going to be me, but they're going to do it. And I said, like
a wise ass with a smirk on his face.
I said, what are they going to get me on? And he literally looked at my face and he told me, well, they'll just make it up. They'll just make it up. And they did, Rich, right? I was a carpetbagger liberal from Connecticut.
They did.
Couldn't hold down a teaching job.
Let me just defend you for a second here for the people on Twitter that I see sometimes, so it's time to come together. Why won't you endorse John Duarte? Because he's not a good person. Okay, it's that simple. Because David is a good person. And John is a donor who is somebody who sat in front of him, laughed in his face, and admitted that he will have people ripping down his signs, even though it's a felony, which they did, and people making stuff up about him. They spent over $1 million lying to the people of California 13 about David and his character. They threatened people everywhere they went who supported David. They bribed another man to get out of the race. The FBI questioned people about it. That's why. And David, if you did, and then the FBI came to get him, I'm just saying, how would that look on you? And they're not in the business of doing that. The FBI is in the business of putting corrupt career politicians under their thumb and in their pocket. So if John is elected, then the FBI is going to have, a puppet. I mean, I'm not saying Adam Gray would be any better, but at least you could beat Gray in 2 years.
Well, and I told people this last night. They said, the reason I haven't backed anyone in the race, because I don't think either person deserves to be in Congress. We have too many people. Politics, by its nature, attracts the most corrupt among us, the most power hungry among us. And I told people last night, I didn't stand up because I said, I want to be a politician and I want to go to Washington and I want to get rich and I want to have power. I did it because I was concerned about the country. I did it because I was teaching in the classrooms and I'm thinking, oh my God, what legacy are we leaving to future generations? If this is what we're spewing out of our classrooms, the country's in a lot of trouble. And we have to stand up, otherwise we're going to lose it. And so I believe, and like you said, they did threaten. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Congressman McClintock because I know for a fact that there was immense pressure on Tom McClintock. John called all of the people that endorsed me right when he got in and tried to tell them to retract their endorsements. And Tom stuck by me. And I really appreciate that because that's the kind of people we need in politics. And I can't feel good about sending people that I don't trust with power to Washington. And people will say, oh, what about Trump? And it's like, Trump is the biggest threat to both sides that ever existed. Because I could say like me, I didn't have the force that Trump had, but he wasn't beholden to anybody, right? Most people want to go to Washington because they want to get some money. They want to get influence. Trump didn't need any of that. He was a billionaire before that. And he said, he finally did what he was going to do, right? Because Republicans don't actually do anything when they get elected.
Yeah, that's why they hate him. Rush Limbaugh was right about that, David. The late, great Rush Limbaugh was right about that. One of the biggest threats Donald Trump is to them is the threat of action, the threat of promise keeping. And they have been making these promises for years and not delivering. And then because like and this as well, you had a water plan. It was a serious plan to deal with the water crisis in California. When Johnny Teixeira was elected, and then,
I was just going to bring this up,
when Johnny Teixeira was elected, and then they were still counting votes for a month, but he was actually basically declared the winner. He went and talked to Kevin McCarthy. He wanted a water plan put in, something they wanted him to vote for. It was an omnibus bill, right? Like just a spending crap bill.
Jim Costa was my original opponent. He's about as swampy as you can get. Guy's been in politics since he was 26. Johnny Teixeira beat him in 2012, basically with no help from the RNC, worked his butt off.
Here's Jim Costa.
With Kevin.
He's sitting nice with Kevin.
I love this.
And David Valadego.
Because I talked about this picture last night. But Johnny won in 2012. He was declared the winner. All the states, decision desk, they all had the check mark next to his name. He went to D.C. He got sworn in. He voted on the House floor, okay? And Paul Ryan came up to him and said, hey,
we need your vote.
We like how you talked about the water issue on your campaign. And anybody who doesn't know, the Central Valley feeds 80% of this country. The fruits and vegetables come from the Central Valley, but there is no water here right now. And so they told Johnny, listen, we need the water issue to campaign on. You used it great in your race, but when you get here, we're not going to do anything to solve it. We need it. And Johnny basically looked at them and said, wait a minute, that's not why I got elected. I got elected because I told people that I was going to do something. And that's when, over the course of the next week, they suddenly found these provisional ballots and they sent Johnny home. But that was the Republican Party telling him, listen, we don't address this when we get here. We're not interested in solving it. We need it to campaign on.
Yeah, people understand that was McCarthy and Paul Ryan. They did not want to solve the water issue. They had no point. They wanted a campaign message, and that is the stuff Rush Limbaugh was always talking about with Donald Trump. That's a problem because then you have Donald Trump. It's the same thing with ANWR, by the way, David. Alaska Republicans been campaigning on ANWR for years, but in D.C. they wanted it as a campaign issue. So Donald Trump comes in, gives it to them. What happened now? It's been rescinded, so this is just, it's a game. It's a charade.
It's a charade. People forget that So Republicans repealed Obamacare, I think it was 63 times when they had the House and the Senate under Obama. They did it because they knew that when it got to the desk of Barack Obama, he was going to veto it, which he did. He vetoed it 63 times. Then Trump wins in 2016. They have the House, the Senate, and the White House. And one time they tried to appeal Obamacare and they couldn't do it because they lost their nerve. And that's why when I see them talking about we're going to hold Fauci accountable, hearings are not holding people accountable. Christopher Wray sat in front of Congress, got drilled by Republicans, and then 2 days later went out and raided Donald Trump's house. They're not scared of the GOP. People are saying, oh, Fauci's retiring because he's scared of the GOP. He's retiring because he's made his money and he's just,
he's done.
But they're not scared of Republicans because they know that accountability isn't really accountability. When Democrats take power,
this is
they go
accountability.
for the jugular. Yeah, exactly.
Here's your accountability. A cute little picnic they're all having together, isn't it?
How much did we hear? That's the biggest part of this. There were a lot of people that didn't want me to win. They didn't want a Republican to win my seat because
they don't.
I had Republican donors. When Jim Costa moved to the Southern District, his new seat, and Adam Gray declared for this race, I had Republican donors tell me, please don't run against Adam. No one could beat Adam. He's the best. He's going to pull 30% of the Republican vote. All the Republicans are going to vote for him. Don't run against him. We had Republicans
100% true, folks. 100% true. We were sitting there trying to explain to people that in a Republican year, a first-term incumbent midterm, there is no precedent for what you're saying right now. This is delusion and defeatism because you are a California Republican who is used to having to bend over and get spanked with the paddle if you're not being a good little boy or girl. And that is the way. This is insane.
What did one of the most popular mayors told me? He said, Rich, they got ever more aggressive whenever we showed them polling that we were winning, right? And when Adam
because they were always down.
Adam had his poll put out that showed me beating him. That's when things got really aggressive because I had one of the most popular mayors say to me, these people are terrified because many of you don't know that when Adam Gray, he's a Democrat, he claims he's a moderate, he just doesn't vote, but he's a socialist, dude. He's open borders. He's going to vote lockstep with Nancy Pelosi.
100%. What? 100%.
Republican supervisors, Republican sheriffs, people that Margaret Mims went to the border with Donald Trump talking about border security. Yep. She endorsed Adam Gray the second he got in the race. They didn't even consult any Republican that was in the race. Okay. And these people were terrified that I was going to win and take them out because they knew they said, these people are scared because they know that they screwed you over and you're not going to sit back and just let them do what they're doing. So this is the problem.
That's why they did you dirty, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it because we're on YouTube, but they just did you dirty.
Yeah, and
they did you daily style, bro.
Yeah, they had that quote. I'll never get over it. I told people last night about the quote, and one day I believe I deserve an answer from Sam Spencer and from Kevin McCarthy about what that quote meant. What did they mean when they told the donor what they said? Because that donor knew what they meant because she didn't give the money, right?
She didn't give.
So
that's right.
And then I'd like to know.
She took it seriously.
She took it serious, and then there's other people that I will say shocked me about their role in this. There are people close to Donald Trump that are making a living off Donald Trump and helped propel a candidate that does not like Donald Trump. Okay.
At all.
Knowingly doesn't like Donald Trump. The guy John can't even say his last name correctly when he talks. That's the funniest thing. So this guy went to bat for him.
Because it feels dirty coming out of his mouth. You can tell when he says Trump's name, that it feels dirty. And we're talking about John Duarte here. When he walks around, anytime he mentions Trump, he's pissed that Trump didn't help him with his EPA violation. And he keeps talking about it was him versus the EPA, but it really was the EPA only does enforcement. It was him versus the Army Corps of Engineers. And he kept going around saying, I fought the big guy. You lost. You got your butt kicked. You got... He did, and he did not because we got the court order.
And Rich,
so he got creamed, dude.
The worst part about that story that is never told
he was facing financial ruin.
he brags about his defense fund, that he took money from all these people around the area, farmers, municipalities gave him money, farm bureaus gave him money. Rich, you read the file. He was told by the Army Corps of Engineers, all you got to do, stop what you're doing, and there's no consequence,
That's it.
right?
That's it.
They literally said to him, we will not do anything if you stop. And he said, no, I can do what I want.
He thought he had money and he was entitled. He was privileged. So he was entitled to do whatever the hell he wanted. He killed an entire population of freshwater shrimp, David. He ruined that land, and he knew that Army Corps of Engineers kids driving down the road, that's how he got caught. They were like, oh my God, he really did it. He did it. And he flooded the area. Then when he got busted, he tried to put back, earth, to soil in order to try to like make it look like he didn't screw up the water table. And he put, you can't just dump whatever you want there. And he did, so just so people understand, he's running to try to fix his own situation. And this is what his entire, he wants new rules for himself. He was eventually settled. True. It's a win-win for them. He eventually settled because he was facing financial ruin to the tune of $50 million in fines. So he settled for 1.1, but he gave money to Donald Trump and expected that Donald Trump would basically order the EPA to stop and make it right. And when Trump's people look at it, that's right. I did. I spoke to Trump's lawyer.
He remembered it. He remembered it because it was so egregious.
It was so bad. He's like, let me explain to you, Rich. The EPA does not demand $50 million in penalties lightly, and not for something like this. When you read the file, you will see how bad it was. There was no way the president could step in and help him. This is not the EPA picking on the little farmer. This is an egregious violation that he knew he was doing, and he did it anyway because he believed his record as a donor to Kevin and then, a later donor to Trump entitled him to do whatever he wanted, to break the law and just not deal with it. We found people who got all these disease products for him. He refused to help. And this is not a rich guy. This guy spent a fortune and, he was beat and he refused to make it right because that's the kind of guy he is. And he expected Donald Trump to basically wave his hand and get rid of it, put himself in a compromising position. By the way, the lawyer, you know how many cases these people deal with? For him to remember or know what I'm talking about when I'm like, hey, I was told you're the guy to speak to.
And he was willing to go on the record. That's how much he remembered.
He did. He was so pissed about it. And he said, just to let you know, you're going to have these like wannabe Reagan Republicans who are going to try to say you're attacking him over it. But let me tell you, this was bad. There's a reason why we have to regulate these issues. It's not like we're being overburdensome, like Obama regulating like a puddle as a lake or something. That's not what this was. This was the destruction of an area because he freaking felt like it when he knew he couldn't. And by the way, he claimed he was planting wheat, David. You saw those fields. He was not. That's another thing the government said. You're not planting wheat. You appear to be buying saplings for, cheap, and you want them to grow. So then you can sell them to rich people for a ton of money. This you can't go below a certain depth. You saw those fields, David. Water everywhere. He broke the water table.
Yeah, and that's why when the first meeting I had with him, he basically said, I'm gonna win this thing because, he called people up. He said, I donate. That's what he said to Tom McClintock, right? I'm a donor.
Yep.
I give money to Kevin. I give money to all these people. You need to endorse me. Retract your endorsement, David. You owe me that endorsement. And that's the kind of thing. I just can't support that kind of behavior because I believe, I do believe the law applies to everyone equally. Yeah. Democrat, right. Republican. And this is the thing where people talk about, well, you don't believe that Trump should be. Listen, Hillary Clinton had documents on her server. She had her own private server. Her documents were found on Anthony Weiner's laptop. You cannot go after Donald Trump and let her get off of it. And whatever Trump declassified documents. Let's face it. I've read the reports now that Biden retroactively changed the rule so that he could say Trump stole classified documents. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Rich?
Yeah, I have. I listened to Alan Dershowitz, his analysis of what it was. He said it was outrageous. This has never happened, and no subsequent president has a right to look back and change the rules like that, or change what is or is not deemed classified by the prior president.
Laws, right? Which are against the Constitution, right? It's like
they are totally anti-Constitution.
If the government passed a law tomorrow that said what, like driving your car is illegal, and you drove your car yesterday, you can't get prosecuted for that. That's not how it works. Right. And this is what they're trying to do to Trump. And so this is the thing. I mean, I will say this: we have somebody. Most of the comment, I can't believe Sheriff Warnke endorsed Adam Gray. Sheriff Warnke, if you don't know,
Republicans for Gray, guys.
Sheriff Warnke ran around, paraded around as a MAGA, America First Republican to get elected sheriff in Merced County. He supported Jim Costa before Adam Gray, and now he supports Adam Gray. And you know what he told me? Why? His reasoning for not even being willing to talk to me was because this was when I was running against Jim Costa. Was Jim Costa gave me sandbags during a flood, so I have to support him. So these people are okay with getting elected on the Trump MAGA message, but they don't actually believe in it. And you have these Reagan Republicans. Jim Patterson, he is an assemblyman here. He was mayor of Fresno. He goes around now and says, I like John Duarte. Do you know what he tells donors at private parties? Adam Gray's my friend. He's a good guy, and he has my support.
Yep.
These people.
And speaking of which, they wanted Gray from the beginning, David. They did. And this is a good place to ask you this. And by the way, let me just run through a few real quick before I get to that one. But in Massachusetts, no, I don't believe there's any chance there. Connecticut would be competitive before Massachusetts, and it doesn't look like Stefanowski's making that.
He's made a bad mistake.
He's not making a good play. Yeah. I mean, I had somebody call me the other day asking if I was going to poll Connecticut. I'm like, yeah, sure. When you pay me to poll Connecticut, I'm not doing you a damn favor.
Bob is running a much different campaign.
Yeah. It's crappy.
It's a crappy campaign. The last time he
went back establishment, David.
People forget that he was the anti-establishment candidate in when he ran last time. Mark Bowden, the mayor of Danbury, was endorsed by the state party in the primary, and Bob Stefanowski came out of nowhere and won the primary, and ran this kind of outsider race. Right now, then he got embraced immediately. He was going to be the anointed one, and he's running this trademark establishment Republican-like campaign. And I told somebody was watching on your show, and they said, what does Bob have to do? And I said, Bob has to win voters outside of the town I grew up in, Wallingford in Cheshire, Connecticut, which is white suburban Connecticut. He cannot win the state without appealing to people in places like, Bridgeport. He has to branch out East Haven, working class neighborhood, even New Haven, right? New Haven, Connecticut, where
that's right.
Those areas, you have to expand the party. You cannot win a statewide race running on the same stale GOP message. It's not going to work.
Not going to happen.
The demographics have shifted too much. And that's why he's just not running a strong enough campaign. And I like Bob. I do like Bob. And I think he's been just given bad advice. And that's the biggest gripe they had against me and you probably the whole time, right? They always criticize me for not hiring their consultants. And I always say to them, how could I hire your consultants when nobody pick up the phone? Right?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, David, if there's a next time, I don't give a damn who's around you. You're going to, it's going to be a different ball game because the fact of the matter is we know this now. You were never overtly mean to him or that's not what it was. It was a problem of untrustworthiness.
You emailed them.
It was the problem of untrustworthiness.
I reached out to them. We had some people that were very close to Kevin supporting us, saying you should talk to this guy. And they didn't even give us 5-minute conversation. It was never like, let's sit and see what David's about. Because had they done that early on, we could have worked with Kevin. I would like to see what Kevin was going to be, but they never gave us that chance. And
but God forbid, David, God forbid you want to make sure that he's going to actually try to deliver the agenda that you are promising your voters and he supposedly supports. God forbid. That's what this comes down to. And by the way, speaking of which, CJ asked, if Californians wanted to volunteer, is it worth going to this Cal GOP or the CA GOP?
I would say
or what
go
would
to
you do?
campaign
What would you do?
specifically. I would say
Go
you
to
gotta
campaign
we
specifically.
got to go to campaign specifically because that's the thing. It's really, you got to get in before the primary, because it's really hard for candidates like me and others that are outsiders to get through the primaries because, quite frankly, Kevin has a lot of control, especially in this part of California where the GOP can win races. They're running bad candidates. Rich, you looked at the polling data for CA 16 before it was CA 13, and you said this is abject failure by the RNC and the California Republican. These people are screaming, we want to vote Republican. This seat should have flipped a decade ago, and it didn't, partly because they didn't want it to flip. After Johnny Teixeira beat Jim Costa, the NRCC, do you think they came and invested in the race the next time? Johnny beat Jim Costa. He raised $300 and something thousand. Beat him. And instead of
before
looking
John
at the
Duarte
races,
funded himself, you fundraised the most out of any Republican
and
governor in that
and
area.
he criticized me for putting some of my own money in, and I said, you did the same thing.
His entire campaign is his money and his brother's money. So
And
the hell is he talking
now
about?
we know for a fact the only reason we didn't get outside donations because people were told specifically not to donate to me. So
that's right. Because
so
those votes are already accounted for.
The reason that David couldn't fundraise was because people were told not to, not because I couldn't get money from people. They were told not to. And a lot of them were told to give to Adam. I really believe that
Which they did.
This race was about a win-win for Kevin. If John walks into it, he gets a vote for speaker. But I think you and I have got some pretty solid information that if Kevin were to ever need votes for speaker, that Jim Costa and Adam Gray would vote for Kevin as speaker, and then they will never target Adam again. This will be Adam's seat forever. But we're going to throw a wrench in that. And
that's the deal.
Yeah,
just so
I
people
think if
understand.
you want to volunteer,
Kevin will leave CA if Adam Gray wins and Kevin has a problem getting speaker votes. Adam Gray will vote for him. Jim Costa will vote for him. And CA 16 now is much harder to win than it was before. But CA 13 is definitely winnable with the right candidate. But Kevin McCarthy will agree to leave Adam Gray alone in CA 13. In fact, do people that like David dirty if he tries to go after it. And then he'll get his vote. That's how these, I mean, most people listening at home are like, God, that's disgusting. It is disgusting, but that is what they do. And let me just blast through a couple of these. Alaska, Jeff, we got to wait until the 31st. We have 7 more days for those damn ballots. We just have to wait. But it looks like Murkowski got what Murkowski wanted to get. And it does absolutely look like, we don't know. We have to wait for tabulation. If the moderate Republicans voters in the special did not choose Sarah Palin as their second choice, then Pator can win, I told everybody this. And by the way, they want ranked choice voting in Florida, in Arizona, in all of these other states. They're going to be deciding on it in Florida soon. I mean, this is crazy because these are the only way Democrats can win. All right. So don't let anyone tell you that ranked choice voting is for better representation. That is the biggest lie. It is for the establishment. It doesn't matter technically. Right versus left. In this case, it will help people like Lisa Murkowski because she's the establishment. But once she goes, it will help. Lisa effectively, David, made it all but certain that Alaska will be represented by Democratic senators now. That's what she did. To save her own ass.
Because you need to tell one of my buddies who I was just talking to, who is he's conservative, but he's more of a libertarian, and he was like, "Oh, I kind of like ranked choice."
Well, they love ranked choice.
I think it gives us a chance to win. I said, "No." I said, "Listen, people have to understand. If the Democratic Party is in favor of a new method of voting, it is because they know it is going to eventually benefit them. They will never give the go-ahead on something unless they know there's a way for them to manipulate it and use it to win. And like you said, it is entitled to protect establishment candidates because usually outsiders are underfunded, right? You don't have the ability to get your message out as well as an establishment candidate. So you can grind through by knocking on doors and work hard, but ranked choice voting eliminates that, right? You cannot, it's harder for you to outwork, and it's a very convoluted process. that person who's going to win in Alaska, I mean, they might win with what, 36% of the vote. We always talk about how people are, oh, he didn't get a plurality, but ranked choice voting is going to give you elected people who weren't even elected by a plethora of by a third of the electorate,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah, I didn't even realize 2:08. I'm over the time, but let's really quick. I'm going to run through a couple of things, then I want you to tell people where to see your show again. But Lieutenant Governor Nunes would be the natural move. DeSantis was Trump's VP. Yes, I met her briefly in Naples a couple months back when I was in speaking to Hillsdale. I found her to be very impressive. Sabatini up by 7 in a large field on July 19th, and then Establishment Mill somehow wins by 13. There was a lot of money spent, right? Toward the end of that, David was just talking about establishment money coming in. Sabatini, which I need pretty much a whole show on. I'll probably do this for locals. I don't know what I want to say here.
I know what
David,
you're trying to say. I know what you're thinking about saying, and you can't
listen. David almost ran into a similar problem.
Well, we did because I think they
beginning.
blacklisted me for the rest of the cycle. So
there's the curse of, let me put it that way. And even if someone is out there advocating for you, if it's this person is notoriously disliked and the donors are told, that they're one of you, then you're not getting money. I think Sabatini should have been the clear favorite in that race, and that's tragic for America First. And I honestly, and that's why Trump didn't get involved, because of this very same issue. All right. And let's see what else. Here's a good one. All right. How did Carl Palladino lose? Well, I mean, again, I think we're talking about in the beginning here. This turnout was not what we have seen in Republican turnouts. New York is a lot like California. Trump didn't get involved, and this is why. I mean, go back and listen to the first 30 minutes of the show. I should have specifically included Palladino in that, but that analysis applies to that one as well. After last night's tepid results, should Donald Trump hold off on his grand announcement or announce it before November? I went, in case you didn't see, I went to Truth, and I basically changed my mind, and I said, make the damn announcement. They're going to blame him anyway if they don't do well, like David said. But at this point, they're blowing this thing. They're blowing it. And without Donald Trump intimately involved, these voters won't vote. And by the way, again, like I said, because you saw it first, I'm sick of this fraud, copying and pasting my Twitter feed and then putting a liberal spin on it and pretending like it's an original thought. But the first part about what he said is right, because he took it from my Twitter feed. This lower propensity MAGA voter is not voting Republican. It's not happening without Donald Trump in these fights. And that is going, that should
no, it's not going to happen. It won't happen in November. Listen,
it's not at this rate.
Democratic turnout is always going to be higher in a general election. So the Democrats are going to show up more in November. And there is nothing. Somebody tell me, what is anything that Mitch McConnell or Kevin McCarthy or Ronna McDaniel, what have they said to you that gets you excited to vote for them in November?
That's right.
That makes you think things are going to change? Nothing. Okay.
Can't just run against someone, David.
We're going
to
cut spending. You're going to cut spending. You guys okayed Ukraine money. Ukraine's getting billions of dollars every day. So are you really going to cut spending? No. Are you good? Like they're not giving voters something to get excited about. And Trump declaring would give. I don't know. It might be a little. I mean, the wave is kind of it's tough because I don't believe a lot of the mainstream polls. I think we're in the propaganda period right now.
We are.
I know we're running late.
We are.
So I think a lot of these polls that are showing the Democrats clawing back are designed to do that because they want this mirage. They want them to be able to say, "Look, the Democrats are going to win. Republicans, stay home." So I think they're trying to influence an election. I do think Republicans are still in a very strong position, but if they don't present voters with something, they are going to lose it. And I think that's what we're getting here. And Trump would excite people with that. And I think he needs to get over it. Like they're going to blame him. If he doesn't show up, they're going to blame him. If he does show up and they lose, they're going to blame him.
He's always
but if he doesn't show up and they lose, they're going to use it as an excuse to say he can't run in 2024 because look, he blew our midterm lead. He needs to just get in now so they can't run with that because it's over. He's already running. So they can't try and persuade people to jump off his ship. And I love
tell
Ron
people
DeSantis.
where they could. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I do love
finish
Ron
that thought.
DeSantis. I want to say this. I love Ron. But people don't care about what's in Ron's best interest. And I hope Ron is smart enough to realize that a lot of the people that are telling him to run are only doing it because they want to sabotage Trump. I want Ron to run and excel. I don't want Ron to go against Trump and then have, you lose one of your shining stars.
It's over for him.
Exactly.
It's over for him.
So I don't think he's going to fall for it. But yeah, watch my show. I'm on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube. It's type in I don't have my own URL yet because I don't have enough subscribers, but it's type in America First Live with David Giglio. Follow me on Getter at David Giglio CA. We're also on Facebook streaming on there at David Giglio CA. I got to be a good enough boy as I can so I don't get kicked off like like they in all these places.
Yeah, you gotta, but
and we're also on Rumble. We're also on Rumble. But me and Rich we're I want to say this. Rich and Laura, I owe a lot to. I want to say it publicly. You guys are the best. We worked our butts off here, and Rich is smarter than any of those people that are getting those big paychecks that are on Fox News. Rich knows what the electorate wants. So people can criticize Rich's analysis on Twitter all they want. Rich is right. And in 20 years, if they ignore what Rich is kicking and screaming about, there won't be a Republican Party. We'll be a little minority, and this country will be in big trouble. So I pray that people start to wake up and listen to what Rich is saying because he knows the data. He's got all the facts to back it up. So
and you were the better man for that, man. We'll
be on. You too, man. We'll be on soon again. And Rich, you'll come on my show when I get some more followers, and we'll have some.
Let's do it, bro.
Time. Yeah.
Let's do it. But in the meantime, people should definitely check it out at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep, 6:30.
Pacific.
6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, Monday nights. We're going to start it once a week for now. Then as we grow, we'll do a little more. I admire Rich being on here all this time every week, talking for 2-3 hours. It gets tiring. I remember being in the classroom.
It's hard. People don't realize
I told you, people don't get it. When I told somebody this, when you're a teacher, right? I realized when I first started teaching, you're tired at the end of the day, man. Talking in front of the kids all day and putting on the show, it takes a lot out of you. So, all right.
And then you got to prep for it. It's work. It's work, man.
And Laura, I'll see you in, I got that moving in van. I'm just playing. All right, bye.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll see you soon. David Giglio, everybody, was hands down the better man for the job. But, there's always a next time the fight continues. All right. There will be more analysis on Alaska, like I said, but I think at this point, we just won't know until all votes have to be counted before ranked choice is tabulated using computer software. And that won't happen until the 31st of August. All right. So again, for those who didn't hear my spiel, check out the 4 Patriots link is in the description for the shows, but also circulate the public polling project far and wide. All right. Which, speaking of which, I got to call back somebody about what I'm dying to tell you. I can't yet, but dying to tell you. I got to call them back actually right now, which is pretty cool. All right. And we'll be on Charlie Kirk later today. Laura, what time? Can't remember.
That would be 2:30, sir. So in 15 minutes.
Oh, in 15 minutes. All right. Who's on there with me?
And Jack Posobiec will be there as well.
Jack Poso. Okay. The Oz killer. I know people are like, what the hell is with Jack and Oz? I think you're going to start to see those polls tighten very quickly. We're going to poll Pennsylvania, it looks like, for CD Media at the end of the month, which is coming up. So that will be pretty cool, and I'll be interested to see what we're going to say. But, the more that Fetterman is on that stage, folks, the worse it gets for him. And Oz is working hard. So I was talking to people, really, both sides of the aisle, and a Politico reporter who was covering the race. And they said this race is going to tighten real soon, or at least they all expect it to. All right. So there it is. All right. Listen, again, as always, you can follow me on Truth and Getter at People's Pundit, on Twitter at People's_Pundit, on Rumble, People's Pundit, on YouTube, People's Pundit. All right. Don't forget to hit that notification bell on YouTube because that'll let you know when we're going to go live. On Rumble, it'll let you know all by itself. But you can find the best place to follow us if you're watching on Rumble, which is on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, where you can follow basically everything that we're doing. And last night's live chat, again, the election chat is always awesome. I always have a blast with it. It's a good format because it allows me to do my work and crunch what I got to crunch and look at what I got to look at, instead of, just you watching me staring at other numbers that I'm trying to calculate. So we try to answer as much as we can. And then Laura's got it on the bottom. For those of you who are on the locals, we have had a big growth in locals community. Those of you who are supporters, do not miss the book club at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we are reading Jack Snyder, Myths of Empire. All right. This week we got coming up, we're going to wrap up the case of social imperialism in Victorian Britain, which is early industrial development period, in which you'll know if you're reading the book or have read it. That is his argument that domestic coalition politics form differently, whether or not the country was industrialized early, late, or late in the case of like the Soviet Union, and that the later the industrialization, the more cartelized the system could be. All right. And this is all for post-industrial revolution, pre-age of information, which I think we would say we're in now. But it really will help you. That this chapter was great because it shows you how democracies use myths of empire to overexpand, to basically be too interventionists. All right. Mythical city of El Dorado, the domino theory, paper tigers, whole lot of myths. You don't want to miss a myth, because once you learn them, you can learn how to identify them, and you'll know them when you hear them. And believe me, you hear them every day, whether you know it or not. All right. All right. So with that in mind, Laura, you do not need the book to join. We read it anyway. We have a discussion. People ask questions. I do my best to answer them. Other people have their own thoughts. You do not need the book to read or join us. All right. So there's a lot of people who are. I got a pro version of Zoom to be able to accommodate all of the people that join the Zoom meeting. You do not want to miss it. All right. Sundays, if you can, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for locals members. Lots of fun. All right. With that in mind, I'm out like trout. All right. I will see you on Friday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Again, more Inside the Numbers. See you soon, folks. Be safe. Deuces.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow